All right, welcome to your Champion Valley basic teching video. This is our Tippmann 98. It is what comes with every single one of our rental packages, open play, anything like that. That's exactly what's going to come with it. This one is missing a couple of things. Obviously, it's missing a tank, it is missing a barrel, and it's missing a hopper. If there's something like you're teching, you want to make sure that everything looks like this. It's just going to make it a lot easier to work on than it is to kind of be working around anything like that. Our most common problem is likely that your gun sounds like it's going full auto, so it's shooting a bunch. That sounds really cool, but it's generally not good. It will absolutely cause a break in the breech, and we don't want that. So there's really three main reasons for this. The first is that your gun doesn't have enough lube in it. Doesn't have enough oil, doesn't have enough power to get back to its starting position, which is right here, causing it to kind of just go back and forth until it reaches its final stopping point. So it could need more lube. Secondarily, you could be out of air, so check your air tank, make sure that you have whoever's gun you're fixing has enough air. And then third is our probably most common repair is a new sear. So you need a new sear. This is what a sear looks like. This is what catches the bolt as it comes back. It catches right on this piece. So if this piece wears off or anything like that, there is potential, or it's missing a spring, or there's a bad spring or something like that. It is potential that that could happen. So you'd fix a sear. Additionally, we have a couple of issues with the safety here. Sometimes the safety will be super loose. Obviously, as a customer, that's really frustrating to think that you should be firing, and then if you turn your gun sideways, your safety automatically turns off. So that is something to be aware of there. And then I would say our probably next most common problem is a detent, which I'll show you in a minute when I get this cracked open. But a detent is what holds the ball in place, and that will essentially make sure that the ball doesn't roll forward. But it's a soft piece of plastic. It looks like this. I'll show you. Looks like this. So if this gets too worn down or cut off or anything like that happens, then a ball will just roll forward and it won't be able to shoot. And then we've got a couple potential like ASA lines and stuff like that we'll get into, a couple of tank issues that there could be, something to keep in mind. If you grab a gun and you're filling it with air, there should be an Allen wrench at whatever fill station you're at. If this feels wiggly to you, so this one's on there pretty solid, but if this feels wiggly to you, just go ahead and just tighten these screws. It's super easy. A customer might not notice it, but it's just better. It's better for the gun, it's better for the tank, it's better all around. And then if you feel air leaking from the body here, this one's got kind of a weird ASA line. But if you feel anything leaking from the body of the gun right here, then there's a good chance that you just need to tighten that up so it sits in there nicely. So that's kind of, if you need to lube up a gun, you'll take this bottle, which should be at every single fill station, like I said. If not, come back to the tech bench. There should be something back here. So you're going to give it like 1, maybe 2 drops. So we'll do 1 here, 1 here. You're going to keep the gun kind of on its side, a little bit of an angle there, and then you're just going to cock it back and forth. And then you'll give it a few test fires. Obviously, this one doesn't have an air tank, so we don't know. But yours should have an air tank. Give a few test fires. If it still doesn't work, kind of oil this back side here. If that still doesn't work, try oiling the front bolt. This one looks pretty clean, but sometimes there's a whole bunch of paint broken in there. That'll make it pretty sticky. So it can be tough to go back. So you should be lubing it at least 3 times before you determine, like, this is a sear problem. Once it goes full auto, you shouldn't automatically assume that it's a sear problem, mostly because they're kind of just a pain in the butt to fix, and it can be a little frustrating when we open up a gun to find out that it really just needed lube, which is a super fast fix and something you can do, like, while you're filling air, so no big deal. But if you do need to fix a sear, you will go ahead and you will crack this open. So you'll take I believe this is a number 3. I like this one. Not everyone does, but there's a whole bunch of Allen wrenches back here. And this Tippmann's kind of interesting. This one is a single body. Some of the other ones are 2 pieces. But usually we just take off both anyway. So you'll go through, you'll unscrew. There is 5 screws in here. All right, Now we've got this bad boy cracked open. And we go like this. So this is what the inside of those screws look like. This is what the inside of your gun looks like. So here we have our bolt, front bolt, hammer, all that kind of stuff. So this is our sear. This is what it looks like here. So this one looks like the pin is knocked out. So you'll want to decock it. You got to be a little careful here. Decock it. What I do is spring usually pops out. Boom. Done. So this sear pin looks like it was actually just sheared right off. So we can take that out of there. I will say cleanliness is sort of the name of the game when you're teching. Just make sure that you try to keep everything like in a contained area. Otherwise, it's really easy to just lose stuff, which is never good. So you can take a new pin. And this sear looks fine to me. It's not worn off, nothing crazy. It's dirty, but as it goes. So then you will put it back here. And throw it back. Throw a new pin in there. There you go. Take your spring, and you can put that back. And there you go. So now once you should hold all this together. And there you go. You're going to lose your spring for sure. That's okay. So pull it forward, push it forward. Then you want to put your spring back there. Like I just said, cleanliness is the name of the game. You're definitely going to lose stuff like that. So you push that forward. There you go. And then this one actually is missing a detent. So we'll put a detent in there. Or maybe, oh no, it came off on the other side. So pop that detent. This is where this goes. So when this is all cocked back, this holds your ball from rolling forward. So you do have to make sure that the part that has the split in it is there. So that is that. So I'll take a rag if it's like super dirty and wipe everything down, but that's how you fix a sear. You could fix the trigger. You could just take this whole trigger assembly out. Sometimes it might be missing a trigger spring. You take that out of there. And then a safety, when they get too loose, we just replace them. And all you do is you just pull it straight out. And then you grab a new one, which is right on the wall here. So you go through and make sure the red is outside facing you. Pop that in there. And then, so yeah, you take this and just push it right through. There you go. And that's how that works. So yeah, pretty basic. If you need to replace, you can replace this whole assembly. You can replace just this line. As I mentioned earlier, when this is leaking, if you fill up a gun and you feel it leaking from like right around this area, or you hear it, all you have to do is you'll take, I think it's an 7/16. You'll go through and you'll tighten this up, and usually that is no problem at all. Just have to make sure it sits like flush in there. It's not threaded in or anything like that. It just sits flush right against here. And yeah, so there you go. Okay, and then when it comes time to put everything back together, make sure everything is good to go. You have your sear pin, your sear, your spring, these two dowel pins, your trigger pins, your safety, your trigger spring. All this should all be together. Make sure that you have a detent in there. Make sure this is all good to go. This is pretty crusty. Probably should be wicked up, but and then you take your other half here, and you'll put it back on. And it is important to make sure everything fits properly. So you'll squeeze it back on there, and you've got this kind of line right down the center. Make sure that you don't have any gapping in there or anything like that. So you'll take that, you'll throw all your screws back in, make sure everything works good. You have one longer screw, that one goes through your front grip, but all the other ones are the same. And just make sure you don't tighten anything too aggressively. Once you tighten that one, and this one wants to pop up, make sure you push that back down. It's okay to use a little bit of pressure, but if you feel like you're forcing it aggressively, then something's probably not right in there. So you probably want to open it back up and make sure that it's all good to go. And then you just screw everything back in. Give it a few more test fires, and make sure everything is all set to go. And you're all done. So there are some more advanced fixes that you will go through. We'll go through some more teching stuff, but this is pretty basic. I would say the most important things you need to know is how to oil your bolt, when to oil it, and then also to make sure that these screws down here are tight. And just being able to diagnose problems is helpful too, just so when somebody else goes to tech and fix a gun, they're not like blind trying to figure it out. If you do have a gun that you're like, oh, I don't have time to fix a sear right now, which is obviously totally reasonable. When that happens, what you'll do is you'll come back to the tech bench. You'll take one of these pink tags that are either hanging on the wall or there's a couple in a bin down here. You will put exactly what is wrong with the gun. So, and if you're not sure, just put what's going on with it. So if you're like, oh, it sounds like it's on full auto, but you don't know if it's the sear or what it could possibly be, or if it's leaking, but you're not really sure where from, or if it's leaking from the tank and you're not really sure what to do about that, just put as much information as you can on that tag. Put your initials, and then also put the date on it as well. That way we just know how long they've been sitting back here, and how long that they've been sitting on the bench for. And your initials are important just because that way if we have any questions where we're like, oh, what did you mean by this one specific thing? Then we will be able to go through that as well. Actually, this brings up a really good point. Let's look at this. So something else that often gets lost is this. There's a spring right here. This is what holds your hopper in place. And sometimes that gets lost, especially when you're checking. It's pretty easy to lose. So if you find that this should click, it should go up and down, not click, I'm sorry, but it should spring upwards. You should have to push it down. And then, but if it's not coming back up, then it's probably missing that spring. So I'll pop this back open. There we go. That was funky. So moving this over, we've got this little thing right here. I always think it sort of looks like an elephant. I don't know. But there should be a spring that goes in it. Unfortunately, we're out of them right now. But once you find that spring, or once you've got one that's in there, you just toss that in there, and then it's good to go. But if this is not clicking, this is, like I said, what holds your hopper in. This is not clicking, that is exactly, or not springing back up, that's exactly why. So just something you want to keep in mind there. And we call that a sight spring. So if that's an issue, you can just say, hey, I'm missing a sight spring, and we'll know exactly what you're talking about. Not a super common fix, thankfully, but every once in a while we do have to fix that. And then you'll just proceed with screwing everything back together. Put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Another really important thing when you're teching is to put everything exactly back where you found it. And throw away anything that's broken. So like if you have a dowel, this dowel pin was sheared in half, that can just go in the garbage. But anything else that you think could be reusable, put it back where it belongs. Obviously put your Allen keys, put everything else exactly back where it goes. And then you are all done. Congratulations, you've teched a gun.